Hello Moto GP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Jorge Martín turned a chaotic sprint into a statement, charging from 8th to 1st with a blistering opening lap and an instinctive outside pass on teammate Marco Bezzecchi. The move set the tone for a controlled race in which Martín managed his early advantage, converted Jerez test gains into race pace and left Le Mans with momentum heading into a rain-threatened Grand Prix. Pecco Bagnaia converted pole into a solid second place in the Le Mans sprint but rued a poor getaway that handed Jorge Martín the initiative. Despite matching Martín for pace mid-race, Bagnaia couldn't recover the opening lap deficit and finished 1.1s adrift, encouraged by the bike's progress but aware of work still to do on starts and front tire life. Marco Bezzecchi ended a run of disappointing sprint results with a morale-boosting second place at Le Mans, admitting the result eased the pressure that had been keeping him up at night. The podium underlines Aprilia's improved form and gives Bezzecchi a useful buffer in the championship as the weekend moves toward the Grand Prix. Marquez will miss at least the French and Catalan rounds after a heavy high-side in the Le Mans sprint left him with a fractured right fifth metatarsal and scheduled for surgery. Ducati confirmed the injury and said Marquez will travel to Madrid for an operation, ruling him out of Sunday's race and the next weekend in Barcelona. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Martín's launch was decisive. A rapid getaway followed by a bold outside move at the chicane put him into the lead on lap 1. From there he controlled the race, managing tires and pace to keep challengers at bay. I just went through the gaps that I saw. On tight circuits where overtaking is at a premium, a perfect start can be worth several tenths per lap, and in a short sprint, it often decides the result. Martín credited recent test work in Jerez for the speed he showed at Le Mans. Changes trialed there helped him extract stronger single-lap pace and better race starts, even as he admits the team is still searching for a stable base setup. Post-race tests that focus on starts, traction and launch maps can produce immediate gains in sprint formats where the opening laps are critical. Despite the win, Martín acknowledged he is still tweaking the bike and has not yet found his ideal baseline. He changed setup for the sprint and expects further adjustments before the Grand Prix, signaling that the package is evolving rather than settled. Winning while still experimenting suggests a high ceiling, but also that consistency across a full Grand Prix distance remains the next target. The outside pass came on Aprilia teammate Bezzecchi, underlining the intra-team battle that will shape the championship. Martín's ability to convert starts into results complements Bezzecchi's consistency, giving Aprilia both explosive race winners and steady point scorers. When teammates trade strong results, a constructor gains flexibility. One rider can chase wins while the other accumulates steady points. Rain is forecast for the Grand Prix, which could reshuffle the order and reward riders who adapt quickly to mixed conditions. Martín's sprint win gives him confidence, but the team must translate short race speed into a wet or dry Grand Prix strategy that preserves tires and pace over a longer distance. Sprint success boosts morale, but mixed weather and longer race distance demand a different setup philosophy and tire management. Jorge Martín's Le Mans sprint was a reminder of his raw speed and racercraft, a perfect start, a fearless pass and composed race management. The victory validates recent test work and keeps Martín firmly in the conversation as the season moves into a crucial European stretch. The next challenge is turning sprint brilliance into Grand Prix consistency, especially if rain forces setup compromises. If he and Aprilia can do that, Martín will remain a major threat in the title fight. Bagnaia admitted a subpar launch left him shuffled back at the opening chicane, forcing him into recovery mode while Martín executed a near-perfect first lap. That early loss of track position proved decisive on a short sprint where overtaking opportunities are limited. Bittersweet, because I think we had the potential to win, but I didn't do a very good start. On tight circuits and in short races, A single compromised start can erase the advantage of pole position. After regaining position and settling into second, Bagnaia trimmed Martin's lead slightly on lap 4 but began to feel the front tire drop off in the closing laps. Managing that degradation while chasing Martin's early gap proved the limiting factor. Sprint distance magnifies the importance of initial grip and launch. Tire life still matters when margins are small. Bagnaia highlighted specific weaknesses, starts and acceleration out of certain corners. That cost him time relative to rivals. He noted losing ground to others on corner exit and wheelie behavior, signaling where engineers will focus ahead of the Grand Prix. With Bezz, I was losing a bit in the acceleration of corner 8 and the last corner, maybe for the wheelie. Small deficits in traction and launch control can compound quickly, especially against riders who excel off the line. Despite the disappointment, Bagnaia took encouragement from the bike's overall behavior and his ability to control tires while pushing. The result continues a run of sprint rostrums and keeps Ducati's momentum intact heading into a rain-threatened Grand Prix. Consistent podiums in sprint formats build confidence and provide useful data for race distance setup choices. With rain forecast for the Grand Prix, Bagnaia stressed the importance of starting from the front row and being prepared for colder, wetter conditions that could change tire and setup priorities. He'll be the only factory Ducati starter after Marc Marquez's withdrawal, increasing the pressure to convert pole into a strong Sunday result. Mixed weather can reshuffle the order and reward riders who adapt quickly. Starting position remains a key asset if conditions turn tricky. Bagnaia's sprint felt like progress masked by a costly start. The bike shows promise and he managed tire life well, but starts and acceleration remain the decisive margins. If Ducati and Bagnaia fix the launch and preserve front-end performance, he should be a genuine contender in Sunday's Grand Prix, especially if the weather levels the field. Bezzecchi finally converted pace into a Saturday rostrum after a string of non-scores in sprint races. The result was a psychological release as much as a sporting one. He described the relief in stark terms, saying the sprint struggles had been having nightmares at home. For a rider who thrives on rhythm and confidence, the inability to score on Saturdays had become a mental burden, threatening to undermine the momentum he built with 3 consecutive Sunday wins. It was something that I was having nightmares about every day at home. So, today is finally good. Despite the podium, Bezzecchi admitted he struggled with front-end feel during the sprint and made a mistake at turn 7 that cost him the lead. The Aprilia remains quick, but marginal handling problems still force him into recovery mode at times. He noted that the bike's behavior under braking and corner entry was inconsistent, forcing him to adapt mid-race. Jorge Martin's explosive start reshaped the sprint, with Martin charging from 8th to 1st and setting a pace that Bezzecchi could not ultimately match. Bezzecchi briefly led at the start but lost ground through a combination of a mistake and traction/acceleration differences. Martin's outside move at the Dunlop chicane was decisive, and once he established clear track, Bezzecchi was forced to chase rather than dictate. The podium keeps Bezzecchi's championship bid intact and meaningful. With Martin's win and continued pressure from rivals, every points haul matters. Bezzecchi now carries a slimmer but still valuable lead into Sunday, where weather and race length could reshuffle the order. His consistency on Sundays remains his strongest asset, but sprint points are increasingly vital in a season where margins are tight and rivals are capitalizing on every opportunity. Bezzecchi's immediate priorities are to stabilize front-end confidence and improve starts and acceleration out of key corners. Aprilia will use data from Le Mans to refine setup and tire choices ahead of the Grand Prix, where mixed weather could change the competitive picture. The team knows that Bezzecchi's strength lies in his ability to adapt mid-race, but giving him a more predictable front end will allow him to attack with greater confidence. Marco Bezzecchi's Le Mans sprint podium is a welcome tonic after a difficult run in Saturday races. The result restores momentum and reduces pressure, but handling refinements and cleaner starts remain essential if he is to defend the championship through a busy European stretch. If Aprilia can turn the small handling gains into consistent race distance performance, Bezzecchi will be well placed to convert Saturday promise into Sunday points. More importantly, the podium proves that his mental resilience remains intact, a crucial factor as the season intensifies and rivals like Jorge Martín close in on his lead. Medical checks at Le Mans revealed a fracture to Marquez's right foot. Ducati's statement confirmed he was declared unfit and will undergo surgery in Madrid in the coming days. The team expects him to miss the French Grand Prix and the Catalan Grand Prix while he recovers. Marc was declared unfit with a fifth metatarsal fracture in his right foot. He will fly to Madrid this night for undergo surgery in the next days. A metatarsal fracture typically requires immobilization and, when surgery is chosen, a recovery window that commonly rules riders out for multiple rounds depending on complications. The high side occurred on the penultimate lap of the sprint, while Marquez was running 7th. He was able to walk back to the paddock with assistance but was seen favoring his right foot and taken for X-rays and further checks. The incident compounds a difficult start to his title defense, which has included DNFs and inconsistent Sunday results. High-side crashes at race speed often produce significant impact injuries. Immediate imaging is standard to determine fractures and surgical need. Marquez's absence deepens Ducati's mid-season challenge. He now sits well adrift in the standings and will miss crucial points opportunities over 2 European rounds. The injury removes a proven frontrunner from the grid and reshuffles title dynamics, increasing pressure on teammates and rival manufacturers to capitalize. Missing consecutive Grands Prix at this stage of the season can be decisive in a tight championship, especially when rivals are scoring consistently. Ducati arrive at a sensitive moment. Recent upgrades and positive test work have shown promise, but losing their lead rider for multiple rounds forces the factory to rely on other riders to validate developments and protect constructor points. The team must also manage rider morale and the logistics of replacement plans. When a factory rider is sidelined, teams often accelerate data sharing and set up standardization to limit the competitive disruption. Ducati will confirm replacement plans and the surgical timetable. Immediate priorities are successful surgery and a clear rehabilitation plan. Marquez has previously returned from significant injuries, but recovery timelines vary and will determine when he can resume testing and racing. Rehabilitation after foot surgery includes progressive weight bearing, physiotherapy, and a staged return to riding. Teams typically avoid rushing a comeback that could risk re-injury. Marc Marquez's enforced absence is a major storyline for the next 2 rounds. It hands rivals a strategic opening and forces Ducati to adapt both technically and politically. The focus now is on successful surgery and a measured recovery. How quickly Marquez returns will shape the championship narrative and Ducati's ability to sustain momentum through the European swing. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your Moto GP news update. And see you next time!